Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at Anymoon.com's review of MegaHouse's Cosmo Fleet Special SDF 1 toys. These toys were released in March 2016 for 7,000 yen. This toy comes in a lovely box that harkens back to the SDF 1 toys of yesteryear. Inside the box you'll find a display stand consisting of a base and an arm that have inexplicably been packaged horizontally, making the box much larger than it otherwise needs to be. Besides the display stand, you'll also get instructions. You'll get 4 sets of antenna on a sprue, and those are unique to side and mode. There's 4 sets of shoulder gap fillers. Those are not unique to side, but they are unique to mode. You'll also get that head and torso combined section. There is another release of this toy, a Midnight Clear Smoke version, and I will be reviewing that separately. As you can see, the toy comes with a display stand. The toy fits on the display stand via one plastic peg. It actually fits pretty securely, so no concerns there. The display stand itself is relatively attractive, nice UN spacey kite. The arm pivots at the base, and then again in the middle, and then again at the top. It feels like there's ratchets on the top and at the base, but obviously not so much in the middle. It's a thin enough arm where you can also put it between the legs in cruiser mode. And then obviously, yeah, you can pivot that arm at the top. So not a whole lot going on, but it's clear, it's attractive, and it's better than a lot of other display stands that we see bundled with toys. The toy itself, you can see, has some pretty nice detail. There's some panel lines in there that look like they've got some paint applied to them to help them really pop. But you'll also notice it's tiny. And it doesn't have some details that you would expect, and some proportions are a little bit off, like the carriers here. Notice how the Prometheus carrier extends well beyond the end of the vessel. It should not do that. You can cheat a little bit to try to make it less obvious, but then you got your arm protruding out, kind of silly. Both the Prometheus and Daedalus look very thin. They are not removable. They should be a little bit more squat, and there's no tower on the Prometheus vehicle. So still attractive, but you'll notice little details missing. Obviously, some decent paint apps on there, but you would expect a lot more if this toy were larger. From the bottom, still good detail. Remember, this is a TV version of the SDF 1, so some of the details you might think should be there, maybe shouldn't, because they were only on the Do You Remember Love version. So I will have plenty of line art comparisons up on Anymoon.com. Another thing to note, super light. No heft to this toy at all. It does hold together well in fighter mode, despite the fact, or I should say cruiser mode, despite the fact it is a parts former. Not particularly dynamic. The arms can pivot very easily. They don't really lock into that perfectly horizontal position, but they also hold that position fairly well as long as you don't bump them. So all in all, a good display piece. Not particularly the most dynamic or exciting toy, but as far as capital ships go, usually all you're really looking for is a display piece. All right, let's check out transformation. Begin transformation by just pulling the arm away from the body, just straight away. You'll see it's got a peg and a hole, and that's how that connects. With this away, we can now remove the top cover that we had installed when we first put the toy together. Goes ahead, and this is the one that has the 3 teeth on it. These 2 clip onto this plastic piece right here. With that removed, we can go ahead and rotate the arm in the complete opposite direction it had been, and bring up our rail guns. And you can see that's gonna still peg in just like that, and this will be how it comes together. But now we need to go ahead and grab our other cavity filler piece, and we're just going to, you can see it's got a fat tooth at the top. I'm gonna slide it into the slot, and it doesn't matter which of the 2 you use, they work on either side, and there you go. That's how it looks when that's closed up. Go ahead and repeat on the other side as well. Alright, now we're going to just go ahead and disassemble the rest of cruiser mode. You can pull away from the body with the guns, and they will just slide right out on you. There they go. And then same thing with the legs. You're just going to pull away from the core. They have a fat peg. They go into a slot. and they will just slide right out for you. And then you're left with this core component. You will not be using that where we're going, so you're going to go ahead and pull that aside. Make sure you don't accidentally knock off any antennas. Obviously they're small and light colored, they're easily lost. You also, when you put this aside, don't want to lay it down on the antenna because you might warp them. So go ahead and put it next to those shoulder covers we're not using anymore. Then fish out your torso with head installed, or already collapsed I should say. So it was separated in cruiser mode. Now it's nice and tight and tucked together. And we're just going to go ahead and start putting things back together. So with the legs, just push in. There you go. Now with the guns, you want to have the black section facing forward. That's how you'll know you got it lined up right. But first, we're going to take the barrel, rotate it, bring this gun forward, and then the top, we're going to rotate around like that. So now it's like that there. Just go ahead and apply some pressure. And of course, there is a mechanism here whereby we can crack it, slide it back, and there you go. So that's now in attack mode. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. And now this is the right hand, which was the data list punch hand. Just go ahead and put that on. And obviously the same with this other gun and arm. All that's left is some fine tuning. So go ahead and get your rail guns exactly the angle you want them to be at. And then you can go ahead and push these guns forward and get the back to be flat with the gun, with these guns here. And there you are now in storm attack mode. Now one thing to note, your head antenna, which do fall off easily and you're going to want to keep a very close eye on, also interfere with the gimmick to go ahead and pull down the guns. So I'll put this piece back in. So you might want to consider just going ahead and gluing those into position. But as you can see, if I bring the gun forward, it hits that antenna there, which is obviously not what you want to do. So you would actually want to remove your antennas, bring your guns forward, and then go ahead and reinstall your antenna, which is not the best system, I would say. But again, we're working with something that is striving seemingly to be a display piece. And once you've done that, you have the requisite position of the guns. You can, of course, bring your arms forward, and then you can pull back out your display stand. You now have the hole in the bottom, so you can go ahead and peg that in, like so. And then you could do some sort of a cool flying pose, however you want to do it. So again, display stand, display piece, not necessarily the greatest toy. In attack mode, the aircraft carriers don't look nearly as bad, so that tells you there's a little bit of anime magic that must have been happening in the show. Now, I've shown you can bring the guns down, I've shown you the rail guns are articulated and that the arms are articulated. You can also rotate around the aircraft carriers, and you could do that at 2 points. You could do it below the elbow and also right below the shoulder. You can pull the arm away at the shoulder, and then you can see you've got sort of a double joint system there. So there's the rotation point, but there's also the ability to go ahead and bring that arm up a fair amount. So that's a pretty impressive amount of articulation for the arms there, which is good. And again, they're stiff enough where it's going to hold things in place, so that's also good to see. Moving down, you have the legs, which go forward and back, mostly back, because in the front you're going to hit these pieces right here. No knee to speak of, but you do have the ability to pivot the legs outward, and you also have the ability to pivot at the ankle. There's no front-back pivot, just something allowing you to get more of an A stance. So, all of that comes together to allow you to do some pretty good poses for an SDF-1. So no complaints there. Again, as far as a display piece, it is checking the appropriate boxes. As far as something fun to play with, a little less so, which is always a debate with the SDF-1 toys. Like, should they add a little bit more articulation, even though it wasn't the most dynamic looking vehicle in the show, just to make it a better toy? With something this small scale, the answer clearly was no. None of the little guns on here are articulated in any way, shape, or form, as you probably would not expect. So again, much more leaning towards display piece. The other thing to notice, the legs themselves, from a line art perspective, should come up higher. This should be a tighter core here that's a little more lumped together. It doesn't quite pull that off, so one demerit for attack mode, but it still looks really good. So overall, still very impressive. At a little more than 20 centimeters in each mode, the Cosmo Fleet SDF-1 is about 1/5900 scale, which means it is fairly small. So to recap, it is small, there is no metal, it is not perfect transformation. So really this toy is just out to appeal to capital ship collectors, primarily those people who have been looking for a modern TV SDF-1, and Lord knows it's been a while since we've seen anyone try that. So if you're one of those people that was hunting for a new SDF-1 toy, you've got one. If you're really just out there looking for the best Macross toys, you're probably going to pass over this one for pretty good reason. Alright, check out the full article on anymoon.com, and as always, thanks for watching.